Hey, Ken Dix, welcome to the Born or Made podcast.
How you doing, Larry Cox?
I'm doing great, man. It's good to have you on. It's amazing that we have the same thing last name, just different spelling.
Just a barrel of kicks, Cox and Dicks.
Cox and Dix. You got to love that. That's so awesome. So, where am I speaking to you from today? What part of the country?
I'm out of St. Louis, Missouri. You?
St. Louis. I'm in Fredericksburg, Virginia, just south of Washington, D.C. And we had the great election night, and it's all that's on the paper. So it sucks. So,
Yeah,
nothing.
I posted a really good article today about the election last night. I'm proud of the left for stepping back to the center of the ring and fighting where they need to be fighting, and maybe we'll get some polarity back into our dang government.
I don't think it's possible. These guys, man, these guys are so, man, we look, we'll start talking about that shit right now. I'm telling you what, we need to hire all new crooks, man. These guys are fleecing us. And everybody's like, oh, the Republicans do this, the Democrats do this. If you look at what they do, they all spend more money than we have on their shit.
They're trying to sell us red pill and blue pill, and we just want purple pills.
I
Like
mean, it's
we,
like,
yeah, they fight on the edge of the ropes. Finally though, I'm not a political person, but I am a combat person. I like combat a lot. I like the art of war and I like
yeah,
negotiations.
I
And I
love
look
it.
at this as an observer, not as a political person at all. I hate politics. I wish we were anarchists and we could all just live and frolic in the world. Um, but the left and the right were on the ropes for years. They were fighting these 1 to 10% fights, and that's great for a civilized society, right? But Trump saw that and he walked right to the center of the ring and started over punching and taking away liberties and rights that we have, right? Like, so I'm very happy that the left stepped back into center and they're fighting him where we need to be fighting because, I'm not a political person, but the dissolve of due process feels like it's dissolving under this far right regime and I don't like that. It scares the hell out of me, especially somebody that makes dick jokes every day.
If you hey, don't say that. That's my last name. You know, I always tell people like, don't say that around me. That's insulting. Uh, yeah, but it is funny how all these guys are just, I mean, I just watch it and I just live in frustration. I'm probably like you. I mean, I don't know about anarchists, but I mean, I just want to be left the hell alone. I mean, I live on a farm. I
Yeah.
can't even, I mean, I have springs in my property. I can't do anything within 100 feet of them on my property
Yeah.
because it's now considered federal responsibility. So I have to fence them all off and keep my cattle off, which I do anyway. Because when you become a farmer, you actually become quite an environmentalist.
Yeah.
And yeah, but I mean, they just constantly have their nose up my butt trying to figure out, and they'll give me everything for free, by the way. They'll put fencing up, they'll put in all my
Oh, to
water
protect the
systems.
waterways.
Yeah, in around my
Okay.
property, and they give me discounts and their grants. But here's the thing. You got to sign a piece of paper that says anytime the federal government wants to come in and inspect your property, they can without your permission.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm not going to do that because they would do it anyway. But at least
Well,
I,
John Adams says that, if you look at any man hard enough, you'll find something, right, that would be criminal. So, and I think that's in a very, our law enforcement is not here to be looking under every nook and cranny of our planet and punishing. Like, this is, freedom is supposed to be live your life. And if you're not hurting anybody else directly,
you're
then live
good.
your life. And that's, the right to pursue happiness in my mind. And, the authoritarianism is not something that I enjoy at all.
Well, our country left that to start this country.
Well, yeah, and then they put us in boxes for stuff like carrying a flower in our car, right?
Yeah.
Like, and they try to take our way of freedoms, and they've done that breakneck speed all over our world. It's horrible.
Yeah.
But I guess
So tell me,
that's the trade off for living in a civilized society, I
yeah,
suppose.
civilized and allegedly free. We could argue about
Anybody that's
that.
ever spent the night in jail knows that's not civil.
Have you spent the night? I never did. I got put in the cruiser, cuffed up. My dad said, if you ever get in trouble, I'm never going to take you. I'm going to let you rot in jail. I got called in. The police chief, I'm sitting in the chair next to the police chief's desk, and I hear my dad like, there ain't no dicks in our family going to be ever spend the night in jail. He called, I could hear him dicks because that's what we called each other. And he came in and got me out. And luckily, I didn't have to go to jail that night because I was 17 and going into the drunk tank. And he refused to.
Yeah,
So,
my life I've probably spent roughly a year
okay.
of my life. 30 days here, 120 there, kind of stuff as a kid. Um, as an adult, just, way less time than that, but still
Well,
enough
no
to
wonder you said you don't
realize I
sleep very
don't
good.
like being there.
Yeah, yeah. That's why I said that's why you don't sleep very good because you're always looking over your shoulder.
Absolutely.
Oh, that's funny. So tell me, so where were you born at? Were you born out in St. Louis or where were you born at?
I was born South City, St. Louis,
Okay.
on this in the state streets.
Okay.
Born, my mom is a wonderful woman. Um, as a kid, crazy as all get out, alcoholic, PTSD, brutal rape survivor.
Oh,
Um, just been through it all. So when I was born, she was homeless. And so I was at the hospital. I was very sick as a child. I was born with a hernia. I had some stuff wrong with my nose. They couldn't get the money for my surgery until I was like 6 or 8 months old. And my cousins raised enough money to move my mom and me into the bar of my cousin's bar. We moved upstairs. So for my first 6 months, I lived in a bar, which, constant music playing all night long, parties, all that shit, with a hernia in extreme pain. The doctors believe that's the cause of my dissociative disorder. At this age in my life, my ability to transcend and just check completely out and deal with, extreme amounts of pain and torture without really acknowledging it, right? Because I have this ability to check out of the planet really easy. And that, luckily for me, or not luckily for me, whatever, I gained that ability at a very, very young age.
really?
Moving forward a couple years, she met my stepdad at that bar. He was a drunk, good old drunk. He was a union baker, worked across the street at Colonial Bread, right? Baked bread all night and went there in the morning and drank with my mom. They ended up falling into enough like to get married, I guess. By the age of 7, I had turned pretty violent. They asked me if I wanted to change my name to Cox from Schneider. I'm like, hell yeah, that's great. I can spell that. Right. So I couldn't check books out at the library. I'm dyslexic, neurodivergent. You had to sign Schneider. I don't even know where the I and the E come from. So I'm like, yeah, sure. Shortly after that, they lost custody of me because I got violent. So now DYS is in the house. We're going through that whole process, but the adoption had already started. So now I'm up for real adoption. Like, I'm in the state system. Anybody can adopt me. They had to file for foster parent. They were my foster parents. My biological mother was my foster parent from 7 to 13, and then she became my legal mother again at the age of 13, and my name legally changed to Cox.
Really?
Later, I got caught borrowing a car with too much flour in the trunk, and they lost custody of me again until I was 18. So I've
So
been a
where
ward
did
of
you
the
stay
state for a
from?
large part of my life as a child.
Really? So where did you stay from kind of 13 to 18 when you got in trouble?
They were still my foster parents, but way that worked then, this tough love, junior AA world was this whole, the family unit was very important in the 80s and 90s, right? Keep the kids with them. If you're not actively violent towards society, keep them with the family. Don't put them in boys and girls home. They had this concept of shock. Shock them back into, so 30 days in holding or 120 days in holding, right? That was kind of the shock them back into society kind of thing. It works pretty well.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm
For
sure.
delinquent kids. So, that was my childhood. And then from 13 to 18, I was pretty much just a solo kid. I lived there. I just abandoned almost all of my friends. I really started working in Main Street in the town that I lived in. I started harassing the business owners. I talk about the slot car track owner that I would, where I grew up, there was a slot car track. You know anything about slot cars? You put the
No.
car in, you hold the gun, and it goes
Oh
around in
yeah.
circles.
Yeah. Mhm.
They have giant ones, right? And in my town, there was a slot car track next to the strip club. So I would go to the slot car track, and he showed me how to solder the slot cars back together and fix them. So I would hang out there and do that for the older guys, right? I'd solder their stuff together for a couple bucks here and there, and then I'd beat them in their races and take their money. Same thing at the pool hall, right? I'd harass the pool hall guy, like, hey man, because I didn't want to be home. It was violent. It was crazy. I couldn't hang out with friends because every time a cop saw me with anybody that I knew that was on probation, they'd arrest me and bring me to the station and make me walk home. So this is what I did. I'd harass these business owners. And he's like, clean my pool tables and I'll give you free pool time. I'll teach you how to play foosball and how to hustle money off these old guys. Right. And then the pizza place, the bowling alley, right? All of these local business owners that I would harass, and they would end up taking me under their wing and showing me how to trade my abilities for income. Right. And that is kind of what took me off to say, okay, this is how a man can live his life that's not breaking the law, not taking from other people, but creating and giving back to the community. And I think if it wasn't for that, that arrest at 13, the cops kind of being harassing to me a little bit, but not too much, and those local businessmen, I think that's the trick for me that got me out of most of my friends growing up are dead or in prison.
Wow. Yeah, that's telling. So did I hear you say you were dyslexic?
I'm dyslexic. My diagnoses are dyslexic, neurodivergent, general neurodivergency, dissociative disorder, and situational amnesia.
I've interviewed a lot of dyslexic people and I'm very intrigued by them. And it's funny, a lot of them, some of them, a couple of them, one buddy I was talking about, I think pre-camera was, he's dyslexic and an alcoholic. And, but the dyslexia is interesting. So how old were you when you found out you had dyslexia? That's what's always interesting.
Yeah, this is wild. So I am so fortunate here. I grew up in a town called Arnold, Missouri in the 80s, who had a shit ton of bad, wild amounts of bad. I mean, this is a wildly racist community in a time of white flight in St. Louis City to the suburbs, wildly racial, but they had this thought process of futurism, right? It is the wrong kind of futurism, but they had that kind of concept. So it was very modern in some ways. So we had a very great special school district. So I got diagnosed with dyslexia at the age of 7, 1982. They diagnosed me with dyslexia, and they didn't understand what was going on because I could pass every test they gave me if they gave it to me verbally, but I couldn't turn in any homework. I couldn't take any tests, any of those things, but it was so obvious that I understood what was going on. They didn't know what to do. So having a super high IQ and dyslexia and all this other crap has been this weird frolicking superpower that I have in my.
Yeah, I mean, people don't realize if it's diagnosed in. So I can think of 3 guys just right off the bat, and all of them have similar stories. 2 of them though were like, one guy was 20, I think he was 24 years old. He was in an airport and he finally figured out he self-diagnosed himself. The other one was, I think, 20, and the other one was somewhere around your age, 8 or 9, because he was so confused. Same thing, but the intelligence, when you start finding out and you really do the research on people, is off the rail because you operate in such a different sphere of your brain.
So when you live a life where you can't trust your own mind and you have to second guess every single thing that you see, right? Because I look at your hat, I think it's LGD, but it could be LDG, right? It could go both ways for me. So I have to look at it and assume that I'm wrong. Every single thing that I look at, assume that I'm wrong, take the context around it, and reapply. And I had to do that instantly. And in a world that was violent, you learn to do that very fast, right? Because the consequences are coming. Before the consequences will be there before you have the time to sit and process the data. So you better process it damn fast.
Wow. And so take me through school. So you were bouncing. I mean, so were you in school once you got diagnosed? I mean, were you just kind of show up, or I mean, or did
School
you
was hilarious for me. So I don't know my right from my left barely still. I'm a boxer and I teach lead, rear, kind of stuff, right? So my diagnosis was in 2nd grade and they moved me to the special school district. Special school district was inside the school at that time. I went to a big school. My graduating class was 600. So they moved me to SSD, which at the time, this is 1982, and I'm just going to use the vernacular that was used in 1982. I would show up and I would go to my class. I would go to my regular class. I would get checked in and take attendance. And I would do stuff like recess, art, and gym with my regular class. But math, science, history, reading, I would go to the retard class. And that's where I went. And I would sit in there and I'd hang out with those kids. And I loved them. Like, we became friends. And I learned how to deal with all of those people and sit with them and their shit. And and be with people that aren't typical people, right?
Yeah, in society. Yeah.
Whatever you want to call it,
Yeah.
doesn't matter to me. So that was my life until fourth grade. And in fourth grade, they asked me, hey, you're doing pretty good. You want to come out of SSD and stay back in fourth grade? Or do you want to stay in SSD and move on to fifth grade? At the time I chose, and this is right around the adoption time and all that stuff. So I stayed back in fourth grade. I did fourth grade twice. Fifth grade, they still put me back into SSD.
Oh,
um,
so that worked out really well.
but so as crazy as my family was, and criminal is all get out, right? I mean, I learned how to steal very, very early in life. At the age of 7, when I got this diagnosis, my counselor at school advised my mom to get me a computer of any kind. And my therapist, when I got violent, said, you need to write every day. I don't care what you write. Every day before you go to bed, just write down your thoughts. 43 years later, this is such a blessing in disguise that you don't even understand the power that I have now because of these moments. So at the age of 7, I start writing every day on my brother processor, right? Some days it's just fuck a million times, right? I mean, you can imagine what comes out of a 13-year-old boy's mind that's violent, depressed, and suicidal, and doesn't understand why he's even here. So I started doing that, and then I've had a computer with me since the age of 7. I've always been on a keyboard. This is how I've communicated with the world, right?
Which is way ahead of society, by the way.
Way ahead of society, which then my mom gets, she leaves the bars. She starts working at Washington University in the 90s. So I get to see the 14 baud modems come to life. I get to do all of these things, right? I'm dialing into Washington University's network, which is one of the first networks in the ARPANET. I'm a teenager now. I'm in the Merck chat. I'm doing all these things. And the computer is my best friend. Like it's my window to the world. I can communicate better on a computer than anything in the planet. I'm documenting all these things. At the age of 13 or 14, I moved all my writing to voice. And then AI comes out and I dump all that into my AI. No. This is not a world anymore of who's smarter. This is a world of who managed their AI better.
Yeah, I'm hearing that. This one guy, I didn't come up with this quote. I'm sure you've heard it. It's not a matter if AI is going to take your job. It's a matter of somebody using AI is going to take your job.
Oh, AI is going to take your job. 100%. 100% AI and robotics is taking your job. There's zero doubt about it. Get used to it. It's coming. There is no reason a CEO will ever hire a human again for
how long do we have based on
3 years. I have a robot right now. I have a 100-car parking lot and 6 acres of land. A robot plows my lot, does all my snow blowing, edges, cuts all of my grass without a human. I ordered my first humanoid robot for the data center this week that'll be here in 2026. All I had to do to train it is put my headset on and walk it through the tasks and then give it that task its name.
Yeah, I saw that in the Wall Street Journal this week. There was a cool video and there was someone else in the other room doing, I guess, through goggles and was watching and was teaching it. It wasn't very impressive, but you could see that's what it was doing. But once
it's first gen.
Yeah.
Right. And then we have X coming out with their humanoid robots. We've got X1 Tech coming out with theirs. This year, they're only making robots to work in the factories to build more robots next year. Right. So we'll have across the globe 250 to 1 million robots come out the manufacturing line in 2026. They're going to build the robot fleet for the following year.
So robots that look like humans, I mean, I'm saying they're upright.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they're right now, they're prepping to build the next gen robots, right? They're not prepping to come out and some of them are going to come, take my trash out and get rid of my cleaning crew. But some of them are going back to the factory to build the next set of robots. And AI training of robots, being able to drop them in the wild world, you can train them the training is so much faster. The physics are done. Everything is done. The only thing in the way is bureaucracy and humans and time.
Why don't we hear about more of this? I mean, the only person I ever hear talk about, robots and stuff is Elon Musk, really, because he's really like, hey, guys, we need to be paying attention to this. And he's talking about the really crazy stuff.
Because
any of this
ego and fear. It is, and again, I'm not a political person, but if I were to fall on any side, I would fall slightly right. It's just the way that it is. I'm a little conservative and my I believe in freedom. You know, I'm a pro-choice guy, 100%. I don't know your life. I can't make choices for you, but I'll choose life every single time. And I think the spark of life is one of the most beautiful things on the whole universe, right? And to kill it, I think is an immortal sin. But I don't control your soul, so that's you, not me.
Yeah.
I'll try to talk you through it, and I'll be there with you, and I'll sit with it if you do it, and I'll sit with you, and I'll still love you. You know, and that's just kind of the way that I work. But for a Republican to say universal base income is a sin, goes against everything they've ever believed in. And in a world of scarcity, I agree with them. Competition is required for growth.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we've made a system to where every human in the world can have a 150 IQ partner in every single facility, faculty in their pocket. I don't know why we need to be thinking about anything else about labor. Why does a man need to dig a ditch if he doesn't want to? Why does a man need to sit on a factory line hitting a hammer if he doesn't want to? Why does a woman have to do dishes in a back room to pay for food, right? When robots and technology can manage 100% of our logistics, growth, food sourcing, everything, like just give it to people. And I think that we got to start talking that way, because if we don't, and I think, you know, I'm probably early and I'm preaching a little too quickly here, but it's going to come. It's going to come quick. Maybe it's 3 years, maybe it's 10. But if we're not talking about it and we're pushing our government and we're pushing our people to understand this is coming, it's going to be way worse. And if you try to fight it, man, you're going to get knocked over. This has got to be symbiotic. It cannot be us against them. If it's machine against man, man loses.
I've thought about this, but you've really got my brain going now. So, I mean, you start talking about that. I mean, we would no longer need people picking vegetables in the fields.
No, why? Let's automate 100% of that. I can pinpoint. I've got friends that work at Bayer in their AI department that can pinpoint the most efficient place to plant soybean on the planet and when. Right? Like, as we figure out how to source the energy better, contain the energy better, recycle the energy better instead of this linear bullshit that we do today. You know, we mine for energy, we use energy, and we pollute the planet with the heat waste instead of using that, recapturing it, and using it for our, you know, we just throw energy away so irresponsibly. And we have a lot of energy. Some people believe that using energy creates new energy, but if you believe in the laws of physics, can't be created. So it is a finite resource, and I think we need to respect it more than we do today.
Well, because I mean, I don't know about Missouri, but in Virginia, you know, the data centers are a big deal here. They say we're going to be the largest the world's capital of data centers is going to be.
And that just made you one of the largest attack footprints in the world.
And it's Cheryl, I've got a 1,200 acre one going in within like 4 miles of my house.
Yeah,
is the crow flies.
It's absolutely horrible. So these 500 today, the largest data center on the planet is 300 meg of power. That's OpenAI. Your average nuclear power plant is 800 meg. This race to consume power is unethical, immoral, and needs to be reframed.
But can we keep up? Because I mean, based on what they're doing here, they said this one data center, I think it's just this one, but maybe it's just saying data centers in general, because this is a big one, big footprint by standards. They'll use more power in one day than the entire county of Caroline County has, where I live. I live in a county, and in one day.
Larry, fortunately and unfortunately, we don't have enough natural resources out of the ground to make the GPUs right now.
That's right.
So we'll have to make a choice. Are we going to murder more children and throw them in the ground to get it out?
Mm-hmm.
Or is the world going to step back right now after we've just discovered the greatest thing since the wheel? I don't know, thought. You know, we've discovered how predictive knowledge, or whatever you want to call it, doesn't matter. It's not much we've learned neurocompute. We've learned how to mirror our own brain in a compute cycle. If we can't step back and appreciate that and use that new tool to usher us into the next thing, instead of just trying to add more to that tool, I think it's the stupidest thing I've ever heard of in my life. It is the demise of our planet, I believe, if we don't step back and look at more ways to do it. But I understand that China's not going to stop because they know that we're not going to stop because China's not going to stop. And it's this everlasting perpetual bullshit of murdering children to get chemicals out of our ground.
Yeah, and we don't talk about that, especially Americans, because we're so righteous. And, I live here, so I can say that. But I mean, we like our cheap tennis shoes, we like our cheap clothes and that stuff. Like, which one is it? Is it uranium? And there's literally like kids with no shoes on in trenches,
Cobalt.
cobalt, pulling this stuff out of the ground, and they're all gonna die. Very young and painful deaths, and we don't even talk about it. I mean, how is that possible?
Because we want our phones.
And hell, I could argue right now, and I know you could too. They're the death of our next generation.
Oh no, they're the
I
expansion of our next generation.
mean, oh, because of the fact of knowledge and usability.
It's gonna all transition is painful.
Okay.
Right? The moment of transition is always hard. It's always hurts. It's always scary.
Like when we went from horses to cars.
Yeah, but we have this new thing that's just what we don't know is if you put a 90 IQ person with 10, 150 IQ people and they just start talking every day, what happens?
You raise the 90.
You raise the 90. You don't sink the 10 150s, right? Because now what you're doing is you're creating a new neural pathway. You're punching new neural pathways in a brain and you're lighting them. And with the right chemicals, you could do that profoundly. I think that, cannabis with lion's mane is probably one of the greatest combinations on the planet for increasing in cognitive ability, intelligence, work, flow, and all of those things. It's for new concepts, right? Punch a new path and light that sucker. And that's creativity. That's consciousness. That's intelligence. That's learning. That's growth. That's everything that we have.
Nobody talks about that either. No, I mean, never. Like I was in a real deep depression through the housing bubble in 2008 through 12. And I went to a lady, I called her the Green Witch, and she hooked me up to these neuron things on my brain. And she told me we would rewire my brain. It would take time. And look, I don't know if she did or not. I'm not going to sit here, but all I can tell you is it worked. Like I don't have that. Like I used to couldn't sleep. I'd get all this amped up. I did all this stuff. And I spent about 3 years with this lady doing this on a pretty regular basis, like once a week there towards the end. And I actually got better because she said you could rewire the brain, but nobody talks about that.
And I do this regularly, right? I'm a boxing coach. I take goober kids with learning disorders sometimes, and I prep them from, kicking rocks in a parking lot to standing in a ring, fighting another opponent, losing, holding their head high, walking out proud that they did what they did. So I am wildly aware of reprogramming the subconscious. I do it to myself on a regular basis. I probably play with it too much. Totally possible. I was at an event last weekend with a group of people, and one of them was the founder of a company called BrainTap. Absolutely insane. So all of the woo-woo that you hear from the seems to be the menopausal 50-year-old women group, right? The witches, the crystals, the energy, all of these things, BrainTap takes and makes all of that science. It's beautiful. They measure your brain waves in meditation. They create they measure your frequency that's coming out of your body in real time. They put a headset on you. They feed you different frequencies, different light pulses, all this stuff. And then you come back and do it again and you're aligned. And it's an amazing thing. I think that technology over the next 2 and 3 years, personal regulation, understanding your, what they call the chakras, alignment, vibration, frequency. I think that is going to take such a cool turn over the next 2 years. I'm talking with guys that are talking about creating technology to help us communicate with our animals and our pets, right? It's
that would be
bizarre. I think within the next 5 years, we're gonna be able to talk to our dog. Limited vocabulary, but I think we're gonna be able to know what they're thinking a lot better than we've ever known before. A little scary.
Just not cats. We're not going to be able to talk to cat.
I think we will. They just won't talk back.
I don't want to know what my cat thinks. I
So
love to
then you
know.
have to ask yourself, if you put that on a cow and a cow says, I'm scared, are you still going to eat it? I don't
Yes,
know
I
what's going to happen. Do not know what's going to happen here. It's going to be wild, but I know that, they've already made it illegal for us to interact with dolphins. So
say that again. It's illegal.
it's illegal to interact with a dolphin in any
Why?
kind of communicative fashion.
Why are they scared? Because they're so smart.
You can use whatever conspiracy theory you want behind it. Uh,
Used to be like, you should see all the stuff on the bottom of the ocean that nobody's talking about.
yeah, it's wild. So, yeah, I mean, we've already diagnosed, 50 to 100 words of the whales and the dolphins, and different dialects, and different pods have different slang. It's so
languages.
cool. Yeah. Like the stuff that we're going to uncover is so wild. But then you've got, you're a farmer, you got your boys who are like, I'm never going to stop eating meat. And, you can use mushroom just as good as any beef you've ever ate, probably.
Yeah, you had talked. So tell me more about lion's mane. I actually take a vitamin supplement that has lion's mane in it every day.
Yeah, lion's mane's one. I love lion's mane. I like growing lion's mane. I love it. It tastes like shrimp or lobster. It's wonderful. You can prepare it, make it taste like pork or beef or whatever you want to, and you can get the same texture by pressing. For me, I just grow it, cut it up, throw it in the pan with some salt and pepper and some butter, and it tastes like shrimp. It's beautiful. I love it.
No, how hard is it to grow?
Super easy. Like, you just throw it on a shelf and let it go. And in like 2 or 3 weeks, you've got a big head of like a pound or so, like a good lobster tail.
Maybe you just cut it off and then it grows back.
No, you ditch the box, but it's like $30 for a couple pounds.
And where would I get that at?
Well, I'm not an affiliate, but I get it from North Spore.
North Spore. Okay.
North Spore. I buy these 5-pound boxes. I cut it. I spray it. And a couple days later, they start blooming. A couple weeks later, I've got, maybe even a week, and I've got a good pound of meat.
And you do that, and it's all online, North Spore.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm writing this down.
And delicious. You'll get hooked. It's one of the best.
It's hard for me to fathom, because I like mushrooms. When they're cooked right, and like maybe they're portobellos or what, I don't know, but they're cooked right and they got the great. I think they taste fine. But as a kid, I was like, I never eat a mushroom. Now you're like, hey, actually pretty good.
What the government has done for mushrooms, forget the government. What fear and ego have done around mushrooms is a crime against humanity. Mushrooms are closer to DNA to humans than any other thing on the planet. It's a great source of nutrition. I believe that I think you could probably live a full mushroom diet almost and be happy if you did it right, and have variety and everything that you need.
It is amazing how we just get put in these boxes, and I guess maybe we as humans, we just kind of rails, and we just kind of stay within the rails.
Literally put in a box. Here's your box plot, 1/4 acre lot. Don't grow any food on it. You're not allowed, right? Don't do anything that will allow you to sustain yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Cut the grass, chemical it so that nothing can grow except for this green grass. You're inside this square box inside this house. Don't leave it after these hours or you could get in trouble. Like, I love society, and I don't know there's a better way. It's just not for me. So, yeah. And it is for a lot of people.
So tell me more about your parking lot robot. We talked, just kind of skimmed over that. Because I'm starting to look at this stuff. I'm in manufacturing. And so our industry is very small as a global scale. We think we're maybe 15 billion nationally, which is a number is super small.
Right.
And there was a company that started doing some robots building trusses, and they went bankrupt.
Yeah. You're going to see a lot of that. You're going to see a ton of companies pop up, try to do this and fail, right? Just like we saw in the .com bubble, just like we saw in the crypto bubble, we're in an AI bubble. The good thing is every single industry across the board is in an AI bubble. There's not an industry that's not touched, right? Manufacturing went robotics 100 years ago.
Yeah.
Or mechanical robotics, right? Not electrical, mechanical, hydraulic. right? So manufacturing has been moving, I mean, use manufacturing workflow for human labor, and you can kind of see what the future is going to happen. A CEO is not going to hire a human if they can have a machine do it.
Yeah, because see what happened to us. So this was what's interesting, and you talk about AI. So cars make sense because you can cut a piece of metal to a thousandths. Well, I build out of wood. Well, wood has tolerances. So a robot would get it, and we have a curve. Well, a human would take that curve, push it in, put a block there, and be able to manufacture the product. A robot would get it and go, uh, uh, and it couldn't put it in the spot because it didn't fit. But now with AI, you go in and you go, no, you do this. And it goes, oh, and then it learns. And then, you do that a couple of thousand times, and the odds are you're going to cover every piece of wood of
Well, what
something.
people aren't realizing, there's so many realizations that have happened. I can talk about the abstraction layer between machine language and English, but also just the fact that the AI now has, most people think of an AI as a chat bot that I talk to. But AIs
Absolutely. Yeah,
have
I'm
eyes
that
now.
guy. I'm that guy, by the way, because I'm like, oh, I use ChatGPT. I'm using AI.
Okay. I'm gonna challenge you that the next time
Yeah.
something's broken in your life, take a picture of it, upload that to ChatGPT and say, how do I fix this?
I did the other day. I was in Stanford. I had this error came up on my computer. We're trying to fix this camera. I'm talking to you on this camera, and I couldn't figure it. And the guy, this one young guy, he's an AI guy. He goes, "Well, just take a picture and put it in Chat GPT." I'm like, "Well, what do you mean?" He goes, "Take a picture." I literally took a picture, put it in Chat GPT, and it told me how to fix it.
So now let me ask you a question.
Okay.
Does AI have eyes?
Well, no, technically not the
Well,
way you and I think about it.
did you just give it an eye?
Well, no, I mean, I gave it what digital information.
No, you took a picture, you gave it an eye.
But
When
so
I talk to my AI,
yeah,
I talk to it with my mouth. It has ears.
you're just screwing with me now. I know what you're saying, but yeah, okay.
I mean, we
Those
we've
two,
we've built senses around our AI. The
I never
GPT,
thought of it
the
that way.
T in GPT is roughly 4,000 lines of code that nobody in the world knows how it works. All we know is that if we take silicone, data, energy, and then ask that a question, it gives us an answer. If we give it more energy, more silicone, and more data, it gets better. That's all we know. So we've discovered this beautiful thing. We don't respect it. We're using it wrong. It has eyes, it has ears, it has smell, it has more senses than humanity ever will because it can see infrared, right? It is aware of itself, absolutely aware of itself. If I take the camera and I point it towards a picture of a dog right here, right? And I say, what are you looking at? I say, I'm looking at a dog. If I put a prism between me and the camera, I say, what are you looking at now? It says, I see a wall. I say, oh, I put a prism between you and the dog. Go, oh, I understand now. I couldn't perceive it because I saw the light fracture and I was actually seeing the wall next to the dog. Is that not reasoning?
Yeah.
Is that not vision? Is that not sensing? So as deep research as you can do into the neurocompute and as deep research as you can do in how human predictive language is, understanding that we cannot predict our next thought, but we can choose our next thought process. I can't tell the difference between how a neuro compute and a human compute is different other than carbon versus silicone. Wow. And we know that we can put compute inside biology. So, I think this is a discovery. I think intelligence is everywhere in every atom. And if you can just take, I say it all the time, data, matter, and energy is intelligence. And, it sounds a whole lot like the Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost.
Yeah, the Trinity.
And we're just the intent model behind it. So it's a beautiful thing. I love it. I get lost in this shit at a pretty deep level, which is why I started doing comedy, because I started going crazy thinking about this too long, right? How far out can we go pi? How far is Fibonacci? Why does that matter in this AI world? And what the hell is actually going on? Stopping, looking at the real world and writing comedy about it is probably my savior. And what Reclaim Sobriety is about in reality, it looks like a self-help recovery book, but it's really talking about self-identity. And that's what I enjoy talking about and discovering the most is self-identity, and exploring and perceiving this world, I think is really cool. So I'm like, how can I do that? So I started research, like doing a deep dive into studying comedy. So I started going to the comedy clubs on a regular basis, and that evolved on July 1st to I did my very first July 1st. Yeah. July 1st, I did my first stand-up, tried it, evolved the entire process. Now it's this weird mashup of my philosophies with Jung, Nietzsche, Freud, Socrates, Jung, Plato, kind of all mixed into this weird world of, what our masks look like in an AI world, and what does a human identify as if they don't identify as a mechanic, a plumber, an electrician, a IT guy? What is humanity how do they change gears and do cool shit when there's nothing that we have to do?
Hence back to the universal income, because these guys were talking about taxing this stuff. So they were already thinking about, like, I guess it was Bill Gates or some of those guys. So, man, I've never really thought of it to that depth. So you got my brain again still going, is like, yeah, what do we do? I mean,
Tell dick
and look,
jokes.
do what?
I decided I'm gonna tell dick jokes.
Well, that may work. I mean, at least we'll have somebody that can entertain us. I mean, it's like shit. Like, I
But
mean,
when I realized, it is so obvious to me coming from, a criminal childhood, bikers, gangs, that kind of world, understanding ego, territorialism, mob mentality, understanding that in the mixed level, right? Sometimes even being the antagonizer and the procrastinator in that world, seeing what's happening now and seeing the degrading of human identity is going to be a problem, right? Because people will need to identify as something. It's part of what we are. So, I see fractured religions of all different kinds, because the average human can't manage a group more than 10 to 100 people.
yeah, I've
Right?
always heard 100 is kind of your max.
Yeah, like the average person can have an ecosystem of about 100, right? I can have mine's about 10,000 right now of people that kind of know in my ecosystem, but that's across business, technology, boxing, right? All these things. And I think that's really what the future is, that I get to test and taste all these different things, and I can do it with the best damn coaches on the planet in my pocket. Right? I've got a
Yeah.
GPT that I said, Chris Rock, Richard Pryor, all the comedians in the world, you're my comedian coaches. You're not writing my shit for me, but you're my coaches, just like I would have a real coach. So I use these AIs to unlock superpowers for me. And I tell my stories. I'm not stealing anybody's content. It's mine. It's my stories. I just have coaches like I would in the real world. And I think once people realize that's how you can use AI to steal your superpower today, so people need to be jumping on right now. They need to be playing with this shit, living their weirdest childhood fantasy, right? You want to be a famous comedian? Go be a famous comedian. You got the best coaches on the planet. You want to be, I've got a friend that started playing guitar, is in a band, right? He's like, oh, I always want to play guitar. And I've been using AI to teach me how to play guitar. He videotapes him playing guitar, feeds that to the AI, and is like, how do I improve this? What am I doing wrong?
So I can do that. So I'm going to ask you this. So this morning I did a speech. First, this is my second one. It was okay. I thought I did a pretty good job, but endless supply of improvement. So I could take that video that I have on digitally Zoom, put it into Chat GPT or an AI source and say, how can I make this better? And it will go through and tell me how to do it.
I would take it a step further. I'm getting ready to launch my ideas framework on how my which is, intent. The biggest two pieces are intent and dump, right? So I told you a story earlier where they told me to start writing at the age of 7, right? When you know that to make your AI smarter, feed it more data, feed it more electricity, feed it more data, right? Give it a better container to be creative in. So I would argue that you should record it, video, audio, transcript, dump that transcript in and say, hey, you're talking to the smartest people on the planet. Why would you ask it, hey, these are my ideas. How do I make my ideas better? Hey, this is what I did. Can we just talk about it openly for a little bit? What could I have done better? What are 5 things that I could have done to make this amazing? What are 3 psychological tips that I could have done to get my users to buy from the stage? And have open dialogue with the smartest, the most intelligent creatures on our planet. Like engage with them, like really engage. Like, hey, these are my thoughts. Fact check it, and then take all that. If you're in GPT, take that and bring it over to Grok and say, Grok, this is what GPT told me. Can you fact check everything in here and make sure that it's right? And what I find most of the time is, because I do these long diatribe dumps that I record and dump into AIs, we'll be talking and it'll say and it goes, and it will quote me. And I'll ask him, like, are you really quoting me, or is that some shit you came up with? And it will go right to the line where I was just doing my brain dump. It's like, oh, this is where you said it exactly. And I'll go back to recording. It's right. So I think that's what people need to learn how to do. Communicate with high intelligence. I think that's the first step that we need to do as humanity.
Wow. Man, you just opened up my eyes. Like I was just literally trying to figure out how, because I'll send this to my coach and have him look at it. And I've got the best coaches in the world at my fingertips.
And your coach probably won't like me for saying all these things, right? Now, that being said, I'm a coach too. You don't have to hire me, but if you hire me, then we'll go hang out and we'll go to lunch and we'll shoot a long podcast together and we'll go have a camera guy do all that stuff. And we might even do an open mic that night. But that human experience is going to be the next big boom.
Wow.
I think.
So what do you do in data centers?
When I was 24 years old, I was a stage manager for hip hop bands from a record label called Suburban Noise. I got a little bit of trouble in Memphis, and my next tour was going to be in Japan. I think that was their punishment. And one of my other disorders is I have this thing called ARFID. So I can't eat a whole lot of stuff. Super particular about what I eat. And I'm like, I cannot live in Japan. So I took a tech job in St. Louis, waiting for my next tour. And I started working at this company called Primary Network, December 1st, 1999. I was the 106th employee. My 3rd day at work, I was selling DSL, if you remember DSL.
Oh, yeah.
Primary Network beat Southwestern Bell to market with DSL in 1999. It's a huge deal. Somebody walks in and says, who knows how to FTP? I'm selling DSLs, right? Just smile and dial. I raise my hand. Now, mind you, I just got off a tour. I was the stage manager for a band called Cottonmouth Kings. I don't know what color my hair was, but it was probably mohawk or spiky, and it was purple or yellow. And I walk out, and as I'm walking down the hall, more suits are showing up with me, right? And I'm probably wearing some like silky Adidas fucking bright t-shirt or some shit, right? And now I'm like 8 executives in suits walking down the hall with me. And we walk into this room. And at the time, it was Primary WebWorks was using file shares to transfer data. But they had gotten this job for MasterCard.com to publish the website. And nobody knew how to FTP but me.
No kidding.
So it was a Mac, and I had worked at WashU for a little while prior to that. So I knew Macs pretty well, and I downloaded Fetch, and I uploaded the files, and I uploaded MasterCard.com in 1999 to the internet. And my long-term business partner looked at me, his name was Steve, and he said, you are now in the web hosting department. So I went over there, and I'm going to fast forward really quick because we sold Primary Network sold to Empower Communications in 2000. 2001, Empower Communications is pulling out of the market as the stock market collapses. Me and Steve, in all of this world, he worked for a company called PSI Net, which you might know as Cogent today. I worked for a company called Empower, which you might know as Pacific Telecom today. We got together and said, hey, neither one of us have a non-compete for web hosting. Let's start a hosting company called Hosterian. So that's what we did. And we're moonlighting Hosterian while we're both working at these big ISPs. I was an e-commerce analyst, and my trademark, my big client was Wonder Bread. I was working on the Twinkies.com project, and it was at the time that we were in the lawsuit with Twinkies.org being an adult entertainment website. Um, so
I didn't hear about that one. That was
I'm in
fun.
all of this world of just outside of the music and film industry. This is the coolest thing that I've ever seen in my life. Constant moving, constant hustle, just amazing shit, constantly creating. And it was just so much fun. We have this hosting company, stock market's bumming. I go from, super rich, dumb kid with stock options to, oh shit, I'm poor again. But I took loans against my options. So I have a bunch of debt now. So we dropped our PUE from 2.0 to 1.2, and a PUE for every watt of power that a computer uses, there's another watt or another percentage of power used to support that IT load. That's what we call it, a PUE, power unit efficiency. So in 12, I dropped that to 1.2. So for every watt of power that I use 0.2 watts of power to support that with air conditioning, lights, and things like that. The white paper, they called me the data center superhero then. It was great, blah, blah, blah. I'm sold out of that space. I have no space left. I got to build the data center for Peabody Energy before their bankruptcy. Arch Coal. I've got to build data centers for some cool shit. I got to work in the AOL data center, the Netscape data center. I've got to do all of those things, but the most fun that I've ever had is building my own. So today we own and operate Hosterian River City Internet Group. We are currently in a transition. We're bringing on some partners right now. I can't talk a whole lot about it.
Yeah, that's fine.
At the moment, because the data center world has changed quite drastically over the past 6 months. So I'm not sure what we're going to do there. But my desire right now is I've deployed as a test development a 100 kilowatt liquid immersion deployment that has no air conditioning at all, no freon, so no chemical leakage into the world. It has a 1.06 PUE. So Musk has a 1.11 with his directed chip cooling, but he also has all these, he uses water. He's got to do water connection, all that stuff. I want to move energy from the data center from a linear path, mine, use, extract into the world, to a mine, use, reclaim, circular motion. And with liquid immersion, we can do that for the very first time. With liquid immersion, I have a very steady 120 degree vat of oil at all times that I can use. So I think if we stop using data center and we start using heat centers and we reclaim that heat to run it under shrimp farms or hatcheries, so we can have protein in cold climates that it's constantly growing, constantly replenishing itself, greenhouses in colder climates. We can run that heat under schools. We can run it to our water towers and remove some of the chlorine and chemicals so we can pre-treat for bacteria of our water. There's just a lot of things that we can do with that low grade constant heat that we're not thinking about. And understanding that my death threats as a data center operator have gone from 2 to 5 a year to where I can just turn on YouTube and get them, right? I mean, people are saying kill the data center operators just publicly as jokes on podcasts, right? And that's me. That's what I do. That's my gig. I build data centers. So my desire is to get the PUE to a negative PUE. I believe that we can compute in such a responsible way that not only do we have access to the greatest coaches on the planet that have ever existed and bring human IQ to that 150 across the board, we can do it and feed the world for free. And I don't know why we're just not doing that. And it's ego and fear.
Wow.
And this concept of sunk cost that humans just are so goddamn married to what they did yesterday.
No, for sure.
And there's just better ways to do shit.
Well, it's with everything. We don't know, we don't know. And again, right, we get in this box and this is what we know. And we don't, you have incredible vision. My vision gets opened up talking to people like you and trying to understand this stuff. And you start going, you're talking about this AI stuff, even with my speeches and stuff. And I'm just like, wow, like I didn't even know that. But why don't I know that? Because it's like they don't really want to tell us.
Well, because, and this is, I have never in my life been able to observe life from somebody else's perspective.
That's right.
Regardless of how hard I try.
That's right. That's a fair statement.
So my entire life, I've assumed that I am like everybody else on the planet. I'm starting to believe that general consensus is telling me that's not true. So I have to kind of believe that. if that's not true, and people have a hard time communicating with me, and I'm at like a 125, 135 IQ, oh, they don't know how to talk to 150s. They don't know how to talk to 120s. They definitely don't know how to talk to 150s.
Oh,
Right. So just that whole concept of asking it questions, challenging it with other intelligence, right? Intelligence is not smart. It's not street smart. It's just the ability to hold multiple things as true at the same time, or
okay.
multiple things as false at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
That's all intelligence is. So it's up to us to decide what percentage of accuracy it is, or what is right or what is wrong. And we use stuff like ethical and moral structures to do that.
Wow.
I think. I
You're
think that's
you're
how it works, Larry.
Ken, you're a fascinating guy. I didn't expect all this. I'm just blown away with all your knowledge. And you're proving again, you got two things going for you. We talked very alcoholic and dyslexic. I tell you what, these people that I meet that have these two things like you have, they're the smartest people I talk to. I mean, you may be a 125, but you're really a 170. I mean, I don't know if there's such a number because clearly I'm not even a 125. But I mean, just like,
All I
wow.
know is they test me and they give me this number.
Yeah.
Okay.
I couldn't even do the test, so they couldn't give me a number.
I can't do the test written.
Still?
Still. If
No.
I'm going to go grab a pen, I don't know what hand to grab it with. And the only time I've ever had good handwriting that's legible to any other human is right after my shoulder surgeries. I had to write so slow that people could read it.
That's crazy.
Outside of that, I can't slow my hand down enough for anybody to read the writing that's coming out. So this is another tip. Hands down, stop using your damn keyboard. If Go get Whisper Flow or start dictating everything.
I did
I've
that
been
with, I
typing.
started doing that, but not, so what is Whisper Flow? Is that just a software?
Whisper Flow is a software you can put on your computer, and you can talk to type on any application in the browser, anywhere. I type damn fast. I type at 60 words a minute, but my accuracy is really, really bad because of my dyslexia.
Yeah.
But up until now, like there's Grammarly has been able to fix the dyslexia in my writing at 60 words a minute. I can talk at 260 words a minute. I have a neural net compute on the other side, right? So now my keyboard is my barrier to entry. It is what is slowing me down. If I can move my compute away from my keyboard and move it to my sensories, hearing and vocal, also, instead of reading it, hit the play and read it while it's going on. If you can absorb the same piece of content from 2 different modalities or 3 different modalities at the same time, you're going to retain it so much better and so much faster.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, Rockefeller taught us to sit in a classroom and be talked at by a teacher for 8 hours. That's the wrong approach for humanity. That
so
works.
Manufacturers, they were developing workers.
Yeah. And that has lowered the American IQ to 90 on auveraage. In my lifetime, we've doubled the life expectancy and lowered the damn IQ. The wrong system. Right? Let's raise the IQ. Let's keep the life expectancy up there. I like that, right? But let's raise the IQ of humanity. And I think we can do that for the first time. Knowing what I know about big data, large queries, and all that stuff, before 3.5, I'm like, oh, this is all cute, big query shit. It's not that good. 3.5 came out, I'm like, instantly we went from 27 employees to 3. Almost within 1 year, I was able to automate 25 jobs away.
And what was that through?
A program called N8N.
Okay. Interesting. Okay. Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, we're starting to look into this more and more. And I mean, and we're way behind the curve. But then when I talk to all my buddies that are business owners, they're not even looking into any of this stuff.
Yeah. So for us, I'm a data center operator. I believe in data sovereignty. I believe in privately held data ownership, right? I do not believe that the people that are holding, I do not believe that a human should share their intimate data with a publicly traded company that has a legal obligation to their shareholders to do the most profitable thing possible with your data.
And yet we're all doing it.
So because you won't go with the small guy for some reason, right? So Hostarian's been around forever. We just launched primary.net, which is our new AI engine. It's really clunky right now, but we're self-funding it because we don't want to have to make decisions based on I want to be able to hold the government accountable when they come and ask me for your data. And I promise you, it happens every single day. The government's coming to the ISPs every single day asking for your data, regardless if it's your opposing political party that's asking because they know you're hosting here. Like they're coming and they're subpoenaing, and the hosting providers are handing it over without even due diligence. So,
and they can't tell you, right?
They can if there's not a subpoena or a gag order.
Because my understanding was if they did that, like they came in and wanted my data from my guys, it was against the law for them to tell me that they had to give my data out.
That's not actually 100% true, I don't think.
Okay.
If somebody comes to me and says, hey, can you give me Larry's data? I can tell you that. That it's my obligation as your data shepherd that, hey, Larry, somebody came and asked me for your data. This is who it is. Am I allowed to give it to them or not? That's my obligation to you because I'm your data shepherd, right? Now, if they come with me and say, hey, give me this data, my job is also to tell them, no, I got to talk to Larry. Now they should say, oh, I'm going to go get a court order. And I'm going to say, absolutely. When you bring me the court order, I will start sharing data with you. But I'm not doing it until then because it's not yours, right? But some of these big ISPs in our last election, in our last term, openly said that they were kind of coerced to just hand the data over without the court orders. And it's just bad. I mean, think about if you're running for mayor of a small town, your opponent could literally have friends with the local sheriff and say, hey, have your DA write me up a subpoena and subpoena this guy's email. Like, that's totally possible right now.
Yeah, and you give that to the government, then what if he just doesn't like the way you and I think?
Well, it doesn't. Yeah, we're talking local governments have.
Yeah, I mean,
local judge in some backwoods, John Smith in Smithville, Kentucky, Judge Smith, Officer Smith, right? These towns have that authority, and that's oppression. That's how you oppress humans.
Wow. Well, on a positive note.
So if know where you're storing your data, know what you're communicating with, know how you get rid of it, know how you delete it, know how everything, because regardless of if you're thinking about how do we increase humanity's freedom of speech and freedom of religion, or I'm working on this brand new technology and my competitors have vision into it. I mean, both of those sides of the coin are bad sides of the coin. People have to start thinking about their data as theirs, and because their data is not just their data anymore. It's becoming their thoughts. They're going to share their thoughts with their computer. And when they're sharing their thoughts with their computer, they're sharing their thoughts with the government, and they're sharing their thoughts with corporate.
It's all going into data.
Only have their self-interest at heart. They do not have your interest at heart. They're self-serving entities. You are the client if you're not paying for it. And if you're not paying for sovereignty, then you're not getting it.
Wow.
Or you can own it, right? I can have my AI runs on my computer in my apartment, locked down, off net. But I know how to do that. Yeah, I'm happy to do that for anybody. It's like 20, but it's ridiculous. But
well, so how do people get in touch with you then, Ken? What's the best ways to reach out to you, or websites?
Yeah, the easiest way to reach out to me, just kencox.com, kencox.com. If you want to follow my comedy journey, that's coxout.com, coxout.com. It is linked from the main site over to my comedy journey. I do roughly anywhere between 2 and 5 sets a week at the moment. So
all right, that is fantastic. Well, so we got to end our podcast. So we always like to ask the same question. What an amazing story you're just the first 20 minutes of what you did as a kid is mind blowing. And then we got into this other stuff. So do you think through this journey of yours so far, do you think you were born or do you think you were made?
I think it's a beautiful polarity of both. Everything that I'm doing right now is in the world of binary, non-binary. The thing that's become most obvious to me is that without polarity, the universe collapses.
Wow. Wow, that's a great way. Well, thank you. I tell you what, Ken, didn't know what we were going to get into, and I can tell you what, I thoroughly enjoyed every second of this. It was a great podcast. Thank you so much for being on the Born or Made podcast.
Larry Dix, thank you so much for your time today. I appreciate you.
Yes, sir. Thank you again.